Rupert march to Otway House, forward march. Alistair march against oppression, forward march. Now Grenadians have got their vision, end of misery and oppression. So we fill Grenada full with our song. Forward march, forward march. Forward march against oppression. Forward march, forward march. Yes, forward march against petty bourgeois intellectualism. Forward march against oppression. Forward march against the oppression of the struggling masses of people of Grenada. Okay? Forward march against incompetence. Forward march against pocket filling. Forward march against rapaciousness. Okay? So, let all civic voices band together and expose the con. Let all civic voices band together and unmask the incompetence, unmask the political oligarchs, and expose the people who have engaged in the most extensive and unashamed nepotism in Grenada's history. Remember, it's you who sustain them. It is your vote. It is your hope and ambition for change, for transformation, that you voted them in. And you have been disappointed. You have been taken for granted. It is your sons, the sons and daughters of the poor and working class people of Grenada, okay, who are getting into trouble, getting into problems, and creating legal opportunities for these people so they can make money off of your backs. You've got to stop that. You have got to stop that. You have to stop giving these people opportunities for employment at your expense. That is why they will stifle opportunities for employment. Okay? And then they'll turn around and come and say, oh, you don't want to work. That is the excuse right now. They're blaming the youth for not wanting to work. And that's the reason why that they cannot deliver on promises of housing and promises of rebuilding houses in Carriacou, in the north of the island, because you don't want to work. Okay? And then when well, I've seen recently, allegedly, that they've employed some youth, you understand? And they refuse to pay them. 4 months. Okay? They haven't paid them. But guess what? They're getting paid. They're filling their pockets. So they prefer to hold out on employing the youth to dissuade them away from criminal activity so that they can fill their pockets even more. That's what it is. Because the more they employ people, I guess, the more salaries, right? So if they can skim on it, guess what? That's more money in their pockets. This is what it's all about. So it's no mystery that the place is riddled with lawyers. Lawyers all over the place. Everybody and their mama and their poopa is a liar. You understand what I'm saying? But you have to understand that every time you get into trouble, every time you get into problems, and you have to pay these lawyers, and you have to pay the judges and the magistrates to oversee these cases, and you have to pay the arresting officers, you are fueling the economy. You know, remember they say, oh, crime don't pay. Crime actually pays. It pays for all the people that is involved in arresting you and putting you in jail. So every time you see that pass by in a brand new car, or there's a house perched on the hilltop, that is paid for by your misfortunes, by your problems. So you have to understand that. This is a direct message to the youth. You have to understand that you are fuel for the fire. Okay? You are fuel for the fire. So, yeah, you know, they talk, you know, give you a bunch of hogwash and a bunch of lip service and pretend that they so care about you and they want this to go away. They don't want this to go away because it's an economy. What you see happening right now, this is nothing new. This thing has happened since the 70s, 80s, the 90s, the 60s, and the same set of people, okay, The same set of people who got into trouble, today what you see happening is the same circumstance. Their sons and daughters are getting into problems. So you have continually, from generation to generation, feed these people. You are a pawn in this big game. And the only way you liberate yourself from being a pawn in this big game is to first and foremost, stay out of trouble. Educate yourself. And not just that academic education, but wisdom education, so you can make right decisions. Let me tell you something. I'm all too familiar, and I understand this and these circumstances and these situations more than you can possibly imagine. Get that? So yes, forward march against petty bourgeois intellectualism. Forward march against incompetence. Forward march against rapaciousness. Forward march against the oppression of the regular Grenadian man, woman, and child. Forward march, let civic voices band together and stand up against this total incompetence. Let civic voice band together and stand up against the con. Interestingly enough, they were all loud and strong voices against the previous administration. Some of the most devious, disrespectful things were said about the former Prime Minister. Now, everybody are like lambs. Everybody's part of the go along, get along gang, and they're being paid to keep their mouths shut, to the detriment of the country and regular Grenadian people. Now, how could you disappoint, play with the minds of, okay, the hopes and ambitions of the Grenadian people? How could you brand yourselves as some sort of transformative agenda, some sort of alternative to come to make a difference, and then you get into power and you do exactly, or even worse, extensively worse than has ever been done? And again, I always draw parallels with the PRG, because they branded Sir Eric Matthew Geary as the worst thing on the planet. And then when they came to power, they did the most devious things imaginable. So in some respects, you did the same thing. You demonize, you villainize Dr. Keith Mitchell, okay, to secure power. He was the effigy of your political strategy. And now, what are you doing? What are you doing? Now, I'm a fierce proponent of the First Amendment. So I am saying, let your voices be heard in the valleys in Grenada. Let your voices be heard on the mountaintops in Grenada. Let your voices be heard on the beaches. Let your voices be heard on every media platform available. Let us hold this administration accountable, okay? Remember, they themselves said extensively and did extensively all they could within their might to sabotage the previous administration, to say some of the most vile things against the previous administration's leader. And now, when you say a little something, they're using economic intimidation to shut you down. Grenadians are not cowed by that at all. So, with the same enthusiasm that prevailed during the previous administration, with the same willingness and eagerness to stand up and speak out against injustice, here's your opportunity to do the same. You know the saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you don't, then you're utter hypocrites. Do not sell your souls for 30 pieces of silver. In the short run, it may seem attractive, but in the long run, it will have devastating consequences. You have a country to save. If they pivot, then you give them a chance. But obviously, they're arrogant and they're unwilling to pivot. So guess what? You have to prepare now and send a clear and direct message and let them realize that if this situation does not change and Grenada does not become a Grenada for all Grenadians, then obviously elections is coming up and there could be consequences.